What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation, NFL Nation, whatever team you're tuning in for? This is the annual Rio and Stunna full first round mock draft. Waiting for Jalen to pop in right now so we can get to business. How y'all feeling right now? We are now 2 more sleeps away from the NFL draft starting. I am super excited to get to it. Man, it's been a minute, y'all. I ain't been live in a minute. We are 2 days away from knowing the fate of our Commanders, to knowing who the Commanders are going to pick to be our franchise quarterback. I will be picking for the Commanders in our mock. Jalen got the pick for us last year. I'm picking for us this year. And we didn't really hit on too many. I think we hit on like 3 out of 32 last year. It was something weak. Let me pull my guy in right now. My guy, Jalen Morgan. How we feeling tonight, my boy?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good. And the gain a look, you might want to turn it down just a tad, but yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Oh, I'm not. My mic is tripping, but we should be good. Give me 1 second.
Sir, yes, sir. How we feeling, big dog?
I'm good. I'm super excited. This is my favorite time of year. Super excited that we're able to get this content out. I think from hitting on hella picks in 2021 to having Malik Willis as the number 2 pick in 2022. We've had a lot of different outcomes based off of our mock drafts, to say the least. So I'm super excited to see what we can do today for sure.
We have put together some nasty work of mock drafts right now, but ultimately, when you stack our mocks against the experts and the professionals, nobody's mock is really looking too accurate. Mine is like Peter Schrager and Daniel Jeremiah. Nobody's really hitting on things. So we're going to try to keep it different. We're going to have a couple trades there, and we're going to keep it spicy tonight. This is an amazing draft class. As an offensive person myself, it's funny because I played defense when I played football growing up. But as far as a consumer of the sport, I'm very offensive lenient. I feel like the draft class is heavy on the offensive side, especially at quarterback, wide receiver, and the tackle class. What do you feel is the theme of the 2024 NFL draft?
I think it's top heavy. I think after the first couple of rounds, I think there's a huge drop off. And even not even looking at just the draft, but at specific positions. Like, yeah, the offensive tackle class is generationally good, but after like the first 7 to 8 names, it's a huge drop off. The same can be said with the wide receiver class. But with us having 6 picks in the top 100, we wouldn't be necessarily too affected by that. Because we have our pick of the litter. But yeah, that's probably the thing that I've noticed about this draft class the most.
My brother Zach, what's going on? We got 70 in the chat right now. Make sure y'all smash that like button. And make sure y'all sub to my boy's YouTube channel, Jalen Morgan, Bleeding BNG. Make sure y'all sub up my guy. We got to get him to his next goal on the channel, but I'm about to open up the mock draft simulator and we can get to right to business. I see you got that Caleb Williams jersey on. I feel like we're going to hear his name called very soon in the process.
Yeah, I had to throw on the jersey early, man, because I don't know how many more times this jersey is going to be relevant because, he's not coming to D.C., so I don't know how many times I'll be able to wear this jersey out in public. I felt like it was relevant for the draft show, number 1 pick. I was trying to be festive. But if you wanted to go ahead and get started, I know I had the odds. So going along with the number 1 pick, the Chicago Bears select the DMV's very own, Bowie Merlin's very own, the Bowie Bulldogs' very own, Caleb Williams out of the University of Southern California. Generational talent, which I believe he is. And somebody that I think is going to lead Chicago to a lot of success in the future. I'm actually kind of heartbroken that we weren't able to get that number 1 pick in a year. It's kind of like the Wizards missing out on Wembanyama by 1 ping pong ball. That's kind of how I feel this year. But I think that we'll have a chance of getting another elite quarterback with the number 2 pick. So the number 1 pick, Chicago selects Caleb Williams.
There's no real discourse or conversation to even have at this, right? They didn't schedule any other quarterbacks to come in to visit. Caleb didn't meet with any other teams. This is done, signed, sealed, delivered, right?
Oh, yeah, it's over. It's over. I think ever since the draft, I think they had to get a little more acclimated with Caleb. I mean, ever since the combine, But ever since the combine, all that Caleb the DC that I was kind of leaning away on. It's pretty much shut down. It's kind of on life support, and come Thursday, it's gonna be all the way dead.
Let's get it. Caleb Williams, the pride of Bowie, is the number one pick of the 2024 Rio and Stunna NFL mock draft. But we all knew that because the draft officially starts at number 2 with our Washington Commanders pick. I am now on the clock. I'm pretty sure if you're watching the draft in real time, ESPN just cut the commercial right now because we are now on the clock. Washington has a decision to make. We've let everybody know. We've let the Raiders, any team interested in trading up to this spot, know. We are not interested. Hang up the phone. Call the Patriots. We're not doing business with you. We are selecting our quarterback of the future here. As days grow closer to the draft, each day we grow closer. I think I like J.J. McCarthy a little more. I've always liked Drake May. I've always seen it as just a Drake May versus Jayden Daniels conversation, and I'm impartial to both. I have pros and cons to why they both could be great or they both could flame out in this league. One's floor is significantly higher, but as we draw closer to the draft, the tea leaves, the smoke, and the rumblings are growing too much on the side of one guy. I watched him talk to Kevin Hart earlier on his Cold as Balls interview. The guy carries himself with superstar moxie, charisma. With the second overall pick of this mock draft, the Washington Commanders select LSU Heisman Trophy winner Jayden Daniels out of LSU. And now the draft really gets real because New England, there's a lot of ways they could go at number 3. What are you thinking here now that you're on the clock?
I'm glad that you said it. I'm so glad that you said it, because if I said this is where the draft started, everybody would have been on my head. Oh, dude, what, you don't like Drake May? What, you don't think Drake May has a chance of coming to Washington? Because, I've been huge on the Jayden Daniels to Washington train since the smoke with the Caleb Williams trade has kind of died down. And I think that Drake May is a really good prospect. I asked Drake May, but I don't know if he's number 2 pick worthy. So moving on to the number 3 pick with the third pick in the 2024 Rio and Stunna mock draft, the New England Patriots select somebody that you just said that you were intrigued by, J.J. McCarthy from the University.
J.J. at 3 to the Patriots?
J.J. McCarthy. And if you guys follow me on social media, I'm not doing this for hype. I'm not doing this for click. Throughout the offseason, I'm a guy that has been seeing J.J. McCarthy over a guy like Drake May. I think that Drake May might potentially have a higher ceiling, but I don't know if he's actually going to reach that ceiling that we've projected him to reach. And I think that just the intangibles that J.J. has, I think that he's just he fits like a glove in what they want in New England. Because we can remember, Bill Belichick is out of the picture, but Robert Kraft is still there, and he's reminded everybody that he plays a huge part in what's going on in New England. If you've seen the Dynasty documentary and everything of that nature. So I think that J.J. McCarthy fits those intangibles, and the New England Patriots bring another Michigan man at quarterback, like they brought in Tom Brady some odd years ago. And they select J.J. McCarthy with the third pick in the 2024 Rio and Stunna mock draft.
And the shit just got real. Shit just hit the fan real fast. And wow, I'm telling you, the Jim Harbaugh PR program for J.J. McCarthy is opened up some eyes. Shout out to my guy Marcus for the $10 donation. He said, men lie, women lie. However, Michael Penix's tape does not lie. Don't believe me, just watch. I appreciate you. I see you have an affinity for Michael Penix Jr. because y'all have the same initial. Men lie, women lie. His tape do not lie, but his knees do. His knees do, and his shoulder does. 4 season-ending injuries. You can't go top 2 in the NFL draft when you've tore the same ACL twice in college and hurt your shoulder. You've had 4 seasons ended in a 6-year career in college. Can't do it, guys. I'm sorry. I can't go Michael Penix that early, but I do think he works his way into the first round. more specifically into the top 15 area to some QB needy teams on the outside looking in. But JJ McCarthy at 3 is very interesting. Let me lock that in on the board. So you got to scroll down to get JJ a little bit.
How you feel about that? How you feel about JJ at 3? I know you said that you've been warming up to him throughout the process. No Diddy, but how you feel? How you feel about JJ at 3?
How do I feel about JJ McCarthy at 3? I've definitely warmed up to him a lot over the process of. I feel like it's his demeanor. Like he seems like he has that Mamba mentality shit to him. Like there's a competitive screw loose in his head somewhere where he's just the ultimate competitor. He's gonna do whatever it takes, and he's just a winner. Like the Patriots can do this. Like I'm not sure Washington could like sell JJ McCarthy like the Patriots could sell JJ McCarthy to their fan base. The dude has lost 3 games in his whole football playing career since high school, like counting high school, college, and like high school and college. He's lost 3 games in his life. All he does is win. He hasn't lit it up yet, but we just don't know what his superpowers look like yet because he hasn't had to use them. So I'm very intrigued. I think it could go either way, but I think Drake May would have been my pick at number 3 because I have a lot of belief in Drake May's ceiling. I'm very curious to see where he falls in this mix, but I'm up on the board next at number 4. Just like number 1, this feels like the easiest pick in the draft. The only alternative I see here is if someone offers me something robust enough to move back, but a Cardinals team with one of the worst rosters in the league desperately needs blue chip talent at a position to help Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray needs some pass catchers. Who's in their receiver room right now? Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. Like they got nothing in that. Their best receiver, Hollywood Brown, is now a Kansas City Chiefs, and he will be playing relevant football this year. You need a guy. I think there's a closer conversation than people want to admit between the top 3 receivers in the class, but I'm going with the prohibitive number 1 receiver, and to some, the best player in this class. I'm going with handsome Squidward himself, Marvin Harrison Jr., the son of a stone cold killer, literally Marvin Harrison Jr. You are an Arizona Cardinal. Thoughts?
I like it. It's just like Arizona. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like the Arizona Cardinals franchise, they're just synonymous with like wide receivers and defense backs, right? So I think that this is the perfect like feeder organization. Even if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't spend his entire career there, I think that with that offense being opened up with Kyler Murray, I think that he'll able to utilize his elite skill set from day one and hit the ground running. We'll look up 10 years down the line, and he has a Mike Evans-esque, career path where he's putting up consistent 1,000-yard seasons because he's just simply that good. So I love the pick. And pairing him with Kyler, who they're kind of forced to have at least a couple more years with that contract situation.
Okay. I like it. Now we're going to get spicy. If you've noticed, the team that's supposed to be picking at number 5 is not sitting there. Ding, ding, ding. We have a trade. Let us know, Stunna Schefter.
Yeah, man. So, I'm all about fireworks. And when we were actually breaking down this, I was thinking about what's the most realistic, bang or, pause. What's the most realistic, exciting thing that I could have go on in the top 5. Because, the draft is all about excitement and entertainment at the end of the day. Yeah, we're trying to build our rosters. Yeah, we're trying to build our football teams. But there's a reason why they moved that from Saturday afternoon to Thursday night, right, to a primetime special, because everybody has their eyes glued to the draft. So the first big moment in the draft is that the Los Angeles Chargers moved back from 5, and they acquired the 2 first-round picks from the Minnesota Vikings, with picks 11 and 23 going to the Chargers, with the Minnesota Vikings now moving to the top 5 with the number 5 pick. And with that number 5 pick, the Minnesota Vikings select quarterback Drake May from the University of North Carolina. Woo! So no, guys, I don't hate Drake May. I do think he's still worthy of a top 5 pick into this draft class. And you pair him with a guy like Kevin O'Connell, you pair him with a guy like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. he has, you know, the ability of sitting behind a guy like Sam Darnold, which I think he needs, which ultimately why he wasn't high on my quarterback rankings in his draft class. But you give him an opportunity to sit behind a veteran quarterback and behind a quarterback guru of an offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell. We saw what he did with the quarterbacks here in Washington. And you surround him with the wide receivers with the likes of, you know, a Justin Jefferson, a Jordan Addison, and a T.J. Hawkinson when he comes back from injury. I think that's the ideal situation where Drake May is capable of hitting his ceiling that many experts are projecting him to be at.
My guy said he got 50 on FanDuel that May will fall to 5. That'll win him 1,300. Hey, I hope that's what you get, my boy. I hope we are able to cash you one.
May this draft fall in your favor, my guy. I really hope it does, for sure.
My thoughts on May to Minnesota is I will stand out on a limb and say whoever the Vikings trade up and end up with in this class has the easiest path to success. That is a already good football team. That's easily a playoff team if Kirk Cousins doesn't blow out his Achilles last year. Kevin O'Connell, one of the offensive gurus and savants of this league, runs a quarterback-friendly offense. He's going to easily develop one of these guys, and you're coming into a system with the best receiver in the league on one side and one of the rising second-year stars in this league, Jordan Addison, on the other side. Whoever ends up in Minnesota has the easiest and most apparent route to success in this class. If Drake May ends up there, I think he's going to reach every bit of his ceiling, and he's going to be a surefire hit for the Minnesota Vikings. I think that is a killer draft pick for the Vikings. Yes, they used both first round picks, 11 and 23, to get up here. So the Chargers now pick at 11 and 23. I like how you did this. You didn't have to touch none of my draft picks to make this trade happen. You're doing the odds. You had to use 2 of yours, so we didn't even have to negotiate this. It was more of a surprise. I like it. Drake May is a Minnesota Viking.
Come on, I'm a considerate content creator, man. We ain't got to do too much work. We're going to be realistic without doing too much work.
Hell yeah, man. Eagle fans, I'm not going to call them scared yet because that roster is still like that. Like the Eagles are like that, and they're going to continuously be like that. But once we get a quarterback and we got people putting this thing together here, the rest of the division better look out. After we finish this draft, I think the NFC East is going to be looking at Washington a little bit different. One of the easiest picks, again, in the top 10. I feel like these even picks are pretty easy for the most part. I think the only one where we had to really make a decision was at number 2, and it's very close between Jaden, May, and even McCarthy. But with the Giants, it's easy. The top 3 quarterbacks are already gone before you pick. I don't think the Giants would pick one anyway. I think they're pussy. I think they're locked into that Daniel Jones contract, and they're moving real pussy out here. So I think they're going to get him some receivers. Their best receiver is Jalen Hyatt. My friend Nikki likes to say, I want to check into the Hyatt on Sundays. Jalen Hyatt got a dirt-ass route tree. His route tree is like right around the corner from De'Ami Brown's route tree, but he actually has something to him. I just don't think he has enough to be a number 1 receiver in this league. Give me the most explosive guy in the class. The Giants have, I said we, oh my God, I'm talking like I'm the Giants now. The Giants have went to the well. I know. Got me talking like I'm a Giants fan. Hell no. But the Giants have went to the well of explosive LSU receiver before. It worked out well with Odell Beckham Jr. I think you're getting thick, twitched up Odell Beckham Jr. from LSU. We're going to the same well. Malik Neighbors, come on down. Daniel Jones has no excuse to be throwing less than 20 touchdowns this year because you have a potential superstar wide receiver lined up opposite Jalen Hyatt. Now, Malik Neighbors, you are a New York Giant. What you think?
Love that pick. Outside of our first 2, honestly, I think that this has the most likely chance of happening. I don't know if it was when he was at the pro day. It was somewhere where I was watching where he was like in an interview scrum, and they asking him about the Giants. And he was doing everything in his power. He had to stop himself like 4 or 5 times from calling themselves we. It's almost like they made him a draft day promise. So if the draft board falls this way, I definitely think they'll run to the podium and select Malik for sure. And, you know, I'm a big Malik Neighbors fan. It's taking everything in my power to not have him rated over Marvin Harrison Jr. I have them 1A and 1B just simply because Marvin Harrison Jr. has done it since day one, since stepping onto a college football field. But Malik Neighbors, I think he's a generational talent at the quarterback position for sure.
Let's get it. Let's get it. But yes, you up now. Now it gets interesting. It's not so easy now.
Yeah, I think this is the first pick that I don't necessarily think is a consensus or I haven't really seen too much of. You know, we try to be unique over here at the Rio and Stunnas mock draft. So with the 7th pick, the Tennessee Titans select tight end Brock Bowers from the University. And the reason that I say that this is an under the radar pick is because the Titans have a pretty good tight end in my guy Chig O from the University of Maryland. Real dynamic with the ball in his hands and things of that nature. But I think that they really wanted to give, you know, the new head coach, Brian Callahan, who's an offensive man coming from that they want to give him as many weapons as possible, right? So pairing him with a jack-of-all-trades type player like Brock Bowers, I know that if you look at the draft board, his position says tight end, but he can play running back if you need him to. He can play H-back. He could be your big slot. He can play the X. I think that Brock Bowers is one of the top 5 players in this draft just off terms of pure talent. So I know I was trying to pair him with an offensive weapon. I think that, you know, Roma Duze still on the board. I think that his skill set screams a little redundant with DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, though. So that's why I went ahead and paired them with arguably the most talented pass catcher in the draft, wide receivers included, Brock Bowers from the University of Georgia going to Tennessee with the 7th pick.
Athlete, man, possibly the 2nd or 3rd best football player if we're not counting quarterbacks in the draft. I'm not mad at it. Give Will Levis a chance, and the ultimate security blanket is a guy you can move all around the offense. I like it. Chigo and Brock Bowers, that's a tough ass 2 tight end tandem. We now
move
on.
Callahan tree. You know that Callahan tree. They let them 2 tight end sets.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I like it. So we're on to the Atlanta Falcons, a team that probably won't have their first rounder next year because they got some serious tampering allegations they have to answer to. The conclusion of that investigation will not take place before the start of the NFL draft, so we'll probably know more certainty about what that's going to look like after the draft. So their 2025 class is probably going to be looking shaky, but they dropped the bag on Kirk Cousins. They brought in some supplementary weapons like Rondale Moore they traded for, Darnell Mooney to add to Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. They got weapons all over the place. They got the 2 running back set with Bijan and Tyler Algier. They got to go defense here. I like their secondary. I think they could use some work in the cornerback room. I like their safety room with Jesse Bates and company, but I'm going edge here. There's the best defensive player in this draft. We finally get a defensive player come off the board. It took us 8 picks into the draft to go to the defensive side of the ball. This is the only edge rusher I think that I would take in the top 10 because Liatu Latu looks like a top 10 pick, but that injury history is why I would have reservations on it. Dallas Turner out of Alabama. You're going to get a Brian Burns style pass rusher. He's going to start day one. The dude ran a 4.4 swerving and zigzagging through his 40-yard dash. You're talking about SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He's been producing since he was a freshman, where he came out the gate with an 8.5 sack season, had 10 sacks this year. Absolute baller on the edge. You don't need to add to your offense right now for the most part. Go edge on the Chicago. I don't even feel like there's too much to explain about it. You're getting the best defender in the entire NFL draft for Raheem Morris to work with.
Yeah, not too much to hop on. I think with the Falcons signing Kirk Cousins, they let you know that they're trying to win now. So I think even though it's dangerous draft for, you know, fit with a team, I think this is one of the prime examples where you do, because they don't really have much edge help, and you pair them with what we both think is the best edge in the class. Not too mad at that pick. So moving on to 9 with Chicago. While I was so tempted to pair Caleb Williams with his high school buddy, his running mate, Olu Fashanu from Gonzaga College High School out of the Washington, D.C. area, to get him some blindside protection. I do think after churning the film throughout this offseason and watching a couple All-22 games and watching a couple of common opponents that they have. I do think that Joe Alt did pass up Olufashanu in my rankings throughout the draft process. So the number one tackle in my rankings comes off the board, 6'8" behemoth of a man, left tackle Joe Ott, giving your franchise quarterback some blindside protection, and also pairing him with a bookend tackle like Darnell Wright to have your bookend tackles of the future for the next 10 to 12 years.
That sounds like a cool combination. Get your franchise quarterback and your bookend left tackle of the future in one draft class, man. I'd say that would put a bow on a nice class for Chicago. So you don't think that they should add another receiver, or you think Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and company are good to go over there?
It's kind of along the lines what I was thinking with the Tennessee Titans. If Brock Bowers would have fell here, I probably would have went ahead and put him with the Chicago Bears. But I think Rome Odunze's skill set screams a little redundant with Keenan Allen's. And, he just signed that contract. And if you even listen to a couple of interviews that Rome Odunze has had, he's comped his game to Keenan Allen, right? So, you might have a mentor and a protege type situation. But I think that Chicago's trying to win now. And I think that, pairing him with, more valuable position as left tackle is compared to wide receiver in the NFL. I think that that's the route that they go in hopes of being competitive right out the gate.
I like it. They got bodies over there. Darnell Wright, Tevin Jenkins, now Joe Alt. Woo! They cooking something in Chicago. They better make them count, because they only have 4 picks in this NFL draft, and 2 of those are coming inside the top 10. So they better make them count when they get there. I'm on the board at number 10 for everybody's favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, it's crazy. He played no football in 2023 and has progressively become one of the most unlikable quarterbacks of all time. It's like every time you see a camera put in his face right now, becomes more unlikable. He's always saying something wild. He's always saying something divisive. And every time you put a camera in front of the guy, it's something interesting. But I'm very curious to see what the Jets will actually look like if he gets to play for them, because they were fighting for a playoff spot for the majority of the 2023 season with ass playing at quarterback. Zach Wilson, the MILF hunter, was just traded over to Denver. Rodgers, just keep getting them weapons. Just keep getting them weapons to throw it to. There's a guy that should not have made it out the top 10 sitting on the board. There's a guy that could give Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. a run for their money as the best wide receiver in the entire class, Rome Odunze. And I will go out on a limb to say, Rome Odunze, it would not shock me any if he has the best career of any wide receiver in this entire draft class. Thoughts?
Wow. Career, I'm not sure with those 2 elite talents in Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr., but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if he had the best start to a career if you pair him with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who is riding out in the sunset, because he'll have the best quarterback situation no matter what you think of Aaron Rodgers. If he's able to stay healthy, that's still a generational talent, arm talent. So pairing him with the likes of, Rome Odunze, you might give Aaron Rodgers, baby Devontae Adams. I think they have a similar.
Rome nice, bro. Rome get busy. He's such a complete receiver, bro.
I like Rome a lot. And pairing him with a guy like Aaron Rodgers is where you really tap out, the potential for his career. Moving on to the 11th.
I hate the way Kuiper says his name. He says Rome Odunze. Like, I hate when he says that shit. But go ahead, though.
Moving on with the 11th pick, remember the Los Angeles Chargers traded out of the 5th pick with the Minnesota Vikings, so they now have picks 11 and picks 23. So you know what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to chew his tobacco. He wants to wear his khaki pleated pants, and he wants to run the football. And while, they're kind of depleted at the wide receiver position, we know that Jim Harbaugh wants to run the football. So it doesn't matter who they have at the wide receiver position. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the most powerful offensive tackle in the draft class, the best run-blocking offensive tackle in the draft class, Talise Falga, right tackle from Oregon State. And this is a guy, this is a
Ooh.
mauler. You know, Jim Harbaugh probably had to change his khakis after he watched Talise Fowler's film, knowing that how he loves to run the ball. Because Talise Fowler, once he gets his hands on you, you might as well just quit the rep. Powerful in the run game. I see some potential in the pass game as well, even though he does have room to improve there. But like I said, Jim Harbaugh ain't passing the ball but about 15 times a game, right? That's the case that we've been making for why we aren't as high for JJ McCarthy. So all of you guys looking at Justin Herbert for fantasy drafts and things of that nature, sorry to break it to you. But Talise Fowler, he's going to go ahead and go to the Los Angeles Chargers with the 11th pick in the 2024 Rio Stunna's mock draft.
Fuanga is a dog. He's a dog, bro. And that's crazy. There was a world where Olu versus Alt ruled the Washington Commanders social media conversation, and the draft world had them both as two top 5 type talents. And as we got closer to the draft, the tackles and the wide receivers and the quarterbacks phased out the tackles to push them near the end of the top 10 to the top 15. And we got Fuanga going before Fashanu. That is very interesting, but I definitely could see it. Jim Harbaugh, he's going to do things that aren't sexy, but he's going to do things that they need to get done. And I can see that. And I like the Chargers adding picks 11 and 23 to start off Jim's run in LA. There are 2 teams in their division that are not the Super Bowl winner, what Daniel Jeremiah calls quarterback alley, because before you traded with Minnesota, Denver, and Oakland, or Vegas. I still call them Oakland for whatever reason. He called it quarterback alley because those are the 3 teams on the outside looking in, trying to find their franchise quarterback, but may not be able to get into the sweepstakes of the top 5. Denver is super thirsty. Like, they spent $80 million to get Russ the hell off that roster. They are as thirsty as it gets in the quarterback search. They just traded for Zach Wilson. They have a quarterback room of Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Gucci DiNucci. Ben Gucci DiNucci. That's a nasty work room of quarterbacks. They need a guy to believe in. There's 2 guys on this list. I think the better quarterback isn't going to go here because of the injury concerns. I think Sean Payton is going to look at his history with Drew Brees and say, I can get some resemblance of great value brand Drew Brees out of Bo Nix. We're going to scroll way down this list and we're going to send Bo Nix to the Denver Broncos. They need something to believe in Mile High right now. They have the richest owners in the league. They couldn't go out and buy a quarterback. They got to draft one, and the only option they have is to reach for a guy like Bo Nix. But who's to even say it's a reach? Look at the 2021 quarterback class. All those guys except Trevor Lawrence have been traded and already moved on from before their 5th year. So you never know how the draft's going to play out. You shoot it, and you shoot, and you shoot until you find something and you see if something sticks. Bo Nix, you are a Denver Bronco.
Wow. I love the point that you made about the 2021 draft, about the quarterbacks. Like you said, who knows? But you did pass up on a quarterback that I had rated fairly higher than Bo Nix. And I can't believe that he's still on the board with the offseason that he's had. Sorry, Raider fans. I know you guys been thotting up and down the timeline, up and down the DMs, up and down in the comment sections, thinking that you guys are going to trade up, busting the bussy, thinking that you guys are going to trade up to number 2 to get Jaden Daniels. But you guys still get a quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. from the West Coast. This is a guy that, I think that he's going to have the potential to push the ball downfield. We saw Devontae Adams come out and say that he wouldn't mind playing with a rookie quarterback. And I think that Michael Penix Jr. is a guy that can come in and, give you what he's going to be giving you throughout his career, right? I don't think there's much of a ceiling with Michael Penix Jr., but I think that he'll be decent to good right away. And back in the day, if Al Davis was still alive, his eyes would have lit up when he saw Michael Penix run that 4.5 40, even though he ran for about 8 yards the entire year, even though it had no translation to his game film. That Al Davis, he would have got his heart would have started beating out his chest once he saw Michael Penix run that 4.5. So we're going to stick with the old Raider way of drafting. We're going to select a height, weight, speed type of prospect. at the quarterback position, and that's Michael Penix Jr., quarterback out of the University of Washington.
I think every time the word speed is said, Al Davis is smiling in his grave and
I
smiling
think he
down from
rises up
heaven.
out his grave a little bit like the Undertaker. Every time he hears 4-3, every time he hears 4-3, he just comes out his grave and it looks real good.
Yo, there was a span of time where he was only drafting Bamas that ran fast. He didn't care what the game could say. Yo, Darius Hayward-Bay is still one of the wildest draft picks I've ever seen in real time, bro.
Nuts. And he was down the street from us, and we didn't think he was a top 8 pick.
Hell no. Nobody thought him doing it. But Al Davis said that boy can run. That boy can suit up for my football team. I think Penix just feels like a Raider. Like Penix just has like black Air Force energy, that ruggedness to him. He looks like that uniform suits him perfectly. So get your do-rags out, Las Vegas Raiders Nation. We're moving on to NOLA. We're moving on to the Bayou, to Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. They have to feel so stuck at the quarterback position with Derek Carr because it's like he's like a hoopty. He's like a reliable hoopty. Like, you know, he's going to get you to work. It may be a hard commute to get there. It may be a long, rugged commute, but he's going to get you to work. It's nothing exciting. You don't ever get excited to get in your car every day to drive it. You actually kind of dread it a little bit, but you know it's going to get you to the next place. So they're kind of in a standstill spot. I think that you could put a receiver opposite Olave because Slant Boy's out of the picture there for real in New Orleans. But I'm going with edge. My boy Buckles, he's a diehard New Orleans fan, born and raised in Louisiana. He wants a tackle, and he thinks the tackle run, he thinks Fashanu would be perfect for the Saints. I'm going edge, and I'm taking a gamble on a guy with injury history that has the best tape of all the edge rushers in this entire class. Someone who probably shouldn't be on the board right now, but for medical reasons is Liatu Latu. Come on down. You are a New Orleans Saint. And we're getting close to another trade happening, as you can see when you look at the board. But Jalen got one pick in between. You take it from here with the Indianapolis Colts.
Who has more sacks in 2024, Chase Young or Liatu Latu?
You already know my answer, bro. Chase Young will be a rotational edge rusher. No,
the people need to hear it. Don't do that because you know they come on here. I'm gonna tell you, okay, if you don't answer. So I'm gonna need you to go ahead and answer that question.
In 4K, Liatu Latu is gonna have more sacks than Chase Young. Chase Young is going to be fighting for another 1 year prove it deal in 2025, bro. You know how I feel about Chase Young.
For sure. Let's move on to the number 15 pick. And this is when I realized, like, we had a problem, bro. Like, the other day, I found myself on, like, an Indianapolis Colts fan podcast page. And what I was hearing is that, you know, that their GM, Chris Ballard, who I think is still there, I think that he likes height, weight, speed specimens as well, right? And you look at their secondary. Yeah, they drafted Juju Brents last year, who had a decent year for, I think he was a 3rd-round pick. And then, you know, they re-signed Kenny Moore, who's one of the best slot corners in the NFL. But with his size, he's really limited to that nickel cornerback position role, right? And with him, you know, being infatuated with height, weight, speed specimens, I'm going to go ahead and draft a height, weight, speed specimen with a small school guy. But if you look at his film, he's a damn dog. And that's cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, who's my number 1 cornerback in the draft. He's the first cornerback coming off the board from the University of Toledo. Gives them some instant impact in the secondary. I think they step in and take on the likes of the number 1 corners when they're on the boundary. If they run off to the slot, Kenny Moore can pick them up and things of that nature. But I think that he instantly makes the Colts defense that much better.
Okay. I would say Quinyon Mitchell has probably had the best draft process of all prospects because I'm not even sure he was on the 1st-round radar before the Senior Bowl, and now he's one of the he could be the first corner taken. Like, this is not some random pick Jalen just made. Dudes love Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of like the rise of. Do you remember like when Demarius Randall came out back in the day? Like he came out of nowhere. It's kind of like that rise that Quinyon Mitchell is having, and Demarius Randall went off to have a decent career. So you know, if you get that type of production with Quinyon Mitchell, that's not a bad 1st pick.
Hell yeah. Now let's get spicy, baby. They've said that the worst kept secret in the NFL draft rumor mill streets is that Washington is aggressively pursuing a trade back into the first round for a left tackle. They want to pair their franchise quarterback of the future with a stalwart mountain of a man protecting him. Because when you look at the current tackle position on the roster, it's ugly. The best tackle on the roster is Cornelius Lucas, who's not even pigeonholed on one side. He's a swing tackle. It's not looking good. They need a difference maker. They need a day one impact guy. And I see a homegrown talent who has no business being on that board. But for whatever reason, when you look at mock drafts across the internet, across YouTube right now, Olu has fallen. They're saying he's super young. As a run blocker, he's raw. You know what? That's cool because his specialty is pass blocking. Learn your run sets later. Protect my motherfucking quarterback. Olu Fashanu, you have no build reason being on the board right now. 7th ranked player on the PFN board. Washington is winning night one of the draft and pairing Jaden Daniels with Olu Fashanu. I was going to try to say his first name, not even going to attempt to butcher that shit. Olu Fashanu, you are a Washington Commander. We now move forward to 17. We are now halfway done with our mock. We could probably speed it up a little bit more on the second half so we can get through this. But you're up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who need a bounce back year after disappointing heavily after Thanksgiving last year.
What's your reaction at our draft party if we leave out Thursday night with Jaden Daniels and Olu Fashanu?
Oh, I'm getting well. We getting the channel banned, bro. We're gonna be acting a goddamn fool. I'm running outside with my shirt off, pants off. I'm wilding, bro.
No diddy. I might hit the Dougie or something. But I feel you. I feel you. But yeah, let's speed up. Let's move through this second half of the draft. With the 17th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars get Trevor Lawrence some help. With them losing Calvin Ridley to the Tennessee Titans in free agency and get Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, another damn good first-round talent of a wide receiver coming out of LSU. I think that he could come in and be Jacksonville's wide receiver number one coming out of camp. I know they have some decent weapons with Zay Jones and Christian Kirks, but those aren't the likes that you're going to line up at X and say, go dominate this number one cornerback. I think that Brian Thomas has that type of skill set, so that's why I paired him with Trevor Lawrence. In the 17th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU.
I like it. Trevor has to. It's a prove-it year for Trevor. I think Trevor, Jalen Hurts, there's a couple guys that they're going to have to show what they're made of this year because number one overall pick deemed a generational talent your whole life. Trevor got to show something in 2024.
For sure. I agree. And I think that that's why they're going to give him every reason to not have any excuses going into this year.
Absolutely. Easy pick for me coming up for the Cincinnati Bengals. They want to get some beef up front. They're going to go out and get the most versatile and athletic defensive tackle in this class. Most people are going to think that's Byron Murphy II. Nope, we're going with Jerson Johnny Newton out of Illinois. Dog, period. LA, you're on the clock.
I love that pick. Like you said, most people think Byron Murphy is the defensive tackle number one on the board, but as far as just, metrics, RAS scores and things of that nature, I love that pick. So with the 19th pick, I know a lot of people are expecting Sean McVay to go offense because this is his first round pick that he's had since he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. But I'm going to buck the status quo, and I'm going to give them the second best cornerback in the draft, in my opinion, and that's Terrion Arnold. If you look, I don't think you guys can tell me any of the cornerbacks on the Los Angeles Rams roster right now, and we're like diehard football fans, but they got Joe Schmo and I don't know who, Rudy out that motherfucker. So I don't know who else they have to check number one receivers, but you pair them with a guy like Terrion Arnold. I think that if he's able to reach his potential, he's an instant impact in Los Angeles' defense as well.
Damn, we're 20 picks into this draft. There is some talent on this board. And for the second year in a row, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers beefing it up on the tackle side. They took Broderick Jones last year. They're going to pair him with another one of the biggest anchors in this class, J.C. Latham of Alabama. You know what you're getting from an Alabama player. Pro ready, ready to go. He's a balanced tackle. He's good at pass blocking and run blocking. It's the Steelers. The Steelers usually do the right thing in the first round. They go back to the trenches to protect either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. I think it's going to be Russell Wilson most of the year, though.
J.C. Latham is back where he belongs, firmly in the first round. That's where he was when the season started. I know he kind of slipped throughout, the season and things of that nature. I think teams were starting to go back to the film, and you saw the rise because I think he's a damn good offensive tackle prospect. Now, moving on to the 21st pick in the Miami Dolphins, we're going to stick along the lines of those good tackle prospects, and I'm going to give the Miami Dolphins Troy Fautanu. This is a guy who's elite in space. If you see Troy Fautanu's film pulling on screens, pulling or blocking in space, pulling on counters and things of that nature, that's what the Miami Dolphins do. Think of their run game. What are they trying to do? They're trying to attack the edges and things of that nature. They lost Connor Williams and a guy like Troy Fautanu, who's projected at not only a damn good tackle, but he can come and give you instant help in the interior line as a guard as well. And then, he can fill in when a guy like Teron Armstead moves in. He can fill in that left tackle position, but can give you that positional versatility where you can come in day one and be a damn good all-pro guard and then be a Pro Bowl left tackle once Teron Armstead leaves the building.
I like that. Troy Fautanu's tape is the most fun of all the tackles in the class because that boy gets downhill, man. He moves and his versatility. They say he could play all 5 positions on the line. If you need him to play center, he could do it. If you need him to play on guard, if you need him to play tackle on either side, Troy Fautanu's there. That's a guy I would love to have in Washington as well. The Miami Dolphins love the pick. We're up to Philadelphia at 22. And Philadelphia is reviving the white cornerback. We ain't seen a baller white cornerback since Jason Sehorn. I know every mock draft and every draft prognosticator is trying to say Cooper DeJean has to play safety. I feel like there's some bias. I feel like there's some racial bias there that they will not permit him to play corner in this league. I actually think he's athletic enough and fluid enough to play corner in this league. But even if he has to move at safety, he's going to be defensive back extraordinaire for the Philadelphia Eagles and a chess piece for him on the defensive side. Give me my guy, Cooper DeJean, one of the best players in this class out of Iowa. Kirk Ferentz in that Iowa program, it's almost a bust-proof program. At minimum, you're going to get a solid player when you draft a player from Iowa. They're some of the best coach, most disciplined guys of any school in the country. Give me Cooper DeJean to Philadelphia at 22.
It's crazy that you said that because I think it was Cooper DeJean that had a Player Tribune article come out today where he was writing NFL GMs where he was like, hey, guys, I can actually play corner. Like, yeah, I'm a baller. I can actually do that. So, yeah, I do think it's some racial bias there because I do think he has, DBs, Scout DBs is my favorite. So I do think he has some, hip mobility and some flexibility to be able to play on the boundary in the NFL. So moving on to the 23rd pick. Remember, the Los Angeles Chargers are picking twice due to the trade with the Minnesota Vikings. And while I wanted to give the Chargers a wide receiver so bad, I think that if Brian Thomas Jr. fell here, I think that this would be a prime spot for him. But I think that this is kind of a reach for a guy like Adonai Mitchell, his Texas teammate, Xavier Worthy, or even a guy like Keon Coleman, who I am particularly high on. Don't know if I would draft him at 23. And what did I tell you at the beginning? Jim Harbaugh, he's going to love to run that football. So I don't think that he can pass on a guy like Graham Barton here, who's a stud interior offensive line talent who can play the guard, but kind of along the likes of, like you mentioned with Troy Fautanu, I've heard that he can play all 5 offensive line positions as well. And, that's just going to give, Jim Harbaugh a hard on hearing that. So, it's crazy drafting 2 offensive linemen, but isn't that such a Jim Harbaugh thing to do?
I could definitely see Mr. Pleated Pants doing it, especially considering Justin Herbert, $270 million elite quarterback, was getting his dick pushed in the dirt all season last year. So going lineman, is going to set a trend there. I think they need a pass catcher because I don't know if I believe in stone hands Quentin Johnson out of TCU. TCU receivers give me bad PTSD, bro. Gives me Josh Doxson flashbacks. But I could see it, and I think that would be a pretty good start to the draft for the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert ain't going to be mad at all about Graham Barton and what other lineman did you? Oh, Fuanga and Barton in round 1. I'm up with my arch nemesis, Dallas Cowboys, with the 24th pick. I've seen Dallas fans who want a corner. I've seen Dallas fans that want another pass catcher, whether that's receiver or tight end. But I think their biggest need right now is getting back to business at the tackle position. They just let Tyron Smith, a future Hall of Famer, leave the organization. They need some tackle help. I think the best tackle for Dallas at this point is Tyler Guyton, who's a guy. Oklahoma tackles, I trust the brand. Anton Harrison, Trent Williams, I trust the brand. I'm going back to that well when it comes to Oklahoma. Tyler Guyton's only started like 13 games in his career, but I trust Dallas to develop tackles. If there's one thing Dallas can do, they develop offensive linemen and they develop secondary guys, even though the guys that develop their secondary guys are in Washington now. I'm giving them Oklahoma tackle Tyler Guyton at pick number 24. It's been tackle crazy recently. These O-linemen are flying off the board. Most of the talent in this class is on the offensive side of the ball. It almost feels like we haven't even said the names of defensive players for most of this draft.
Yeah, and we big beefing right now because I would hate to go against a guy like Tyler Guyton for the next 13 years if he's able to man down that left tackle position because I think that he might have the highest ceiling of any of these offensive tackles in this class. So if he's able to reach that ceiling, and like you said, they do develop offensive linemen in Dallas, that's going to be hell for us to face in Washington for the next 15 years. But I know that you said, let me not bury the lead. The one thing that Dave had mentioned about this draft, right? I'm pretty sure you've heard the same thing, that there'll be no off-ball linebackers and there'll be no running backs drafted in the first round, right? But here at the Rio and Stunnas first round mock draft, we're going to go ahead and draft an off-ball linebacker, and we're going to give the Green Bay Packers linebacker Edgerrin James from Texas A&M. Kind of along the lines of the Los Angeles Rams cornerback room. They got Joe Schmo and Rudy out there in the linebacker room with the Green Bay Packers. So giving them the best linebacker in the draft and a guy like Edgerrin Cooper. You look at the work that he does, not only in coverage, but the work that he does past the line of scrimmage and at the line of scrimmage with his tackle for loss numbers. I think that he's the type of guy that gives you a leader on the defense while, Jordan Love has the offense at the helm for the next 10 to 12 years.
I think Al Harris helped make y'all secondary, but y'all not going to take that away from Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. You're not going to do that. Dallas fans, I know y'all mad that they bounced on y'all for an arch nemesis, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Dan Quinn still was the orchestrator of that Legion of Boom, right? Joe Witt still was leading the league in interceptions when he was with the Green Bay Packers, right? Or am I tripping? Did I not read that somewhere?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. People love to discredit once guys are not alone on their organization anymore. But sure. Edgerrin Cooper, wow, I did not see that one coming. Edgerrin Cooper, that's crazy. There is an edge rusher on the board who guys were talking about as a top 10 pick at some point of this offseason. He's got buried under this mix of quarterbacks, tackles, and receivers. He shouldn't be on this board. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers needs an edge rusher. Jared Verse, come on down. I don't think he has the craziest ceiling, but I think he's one of the highest floor players. He's going to be plug and play. He's going to be solid as hell. Like maybe like a less explosive Montez Sweat type guy, but hey, who knows? His Sweat ceiling's about to look different now in Chicago. Now that he's the face of that defense with some good coaching under him, I don't think Jared Verse is going to be like a 15 sack guy, but I think it's going to be like a Preston Smith type guy, which is a very solid guy to have for your team. High floor guy, not the highest ceiling. I can see Tampa Bay pouncing all over this pick if he's still on the board at 26.
It's crazy that you said this. You done named all these names, and after watching Jared Verse throughout the draft process, my nickname for him is Baby Arakpo. Kind of because of the likes that you said. He's not going to be dynamic in the run game, but I think that he's more physical. I mean, he's not going to be as dynamic in the pass game. He doesn't have array of pass rush moves and things of that nature. But I think he's great at the point of attacking the run game. He holds the edge up well, kind of like what we saw Brian Arakpo in his prime years here in DC. So moving on to pick 27. As I mentioned earlier, it just seems like with the Arizona Cardinals, their franchise is synonymous with wide receivers and defensive backs. So you went ahead and gave him a wide receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. with pick number 4. So at pick 27, I'm going to go ahead and give a defensive back who a lot of people claimed was cornerback 1 going into the 2023 college season. His film wasn't the greatest, but he has some physical athletic traits where he reminds me a lot of a guy like Denzel Ward, and that's Nate Wiggins from the University of Clemson, or Clemson University, or whatever you call it.
Okay. And I remember you told me when we were talking about corners the other day that you're not really a big Nate Wiggins guy. Why is that?
I just think that he plays on his athleticism too much. He kind of deviates from his technique. And I said that even watching film before the combine and things like that. But then when you look at his combine numbers, I totally get why, right? He put up some freaky numbers. He's kind of small, kind of light in the ass, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't like him in film, because he didn't really necessarily seem like he was willing to tackle. But the physical traits are there. If you look at some of his shuttle numbers and things of that nature, he has some feet like along the lines of like Denzel Ward, who I think is one of the most slept on cornerbacks in the NFL. So with the hip mobility and the flexibility that he does show when it's hitting on tape, I think that if he gets with the right defensive back coach, like Al Harris, who we were just mentioning, he can reach his potential, and the sky's the limit.
Okay, I love it. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock. They traded Diva wide receiver, DMV born and raised, Stephon Diggs. They have a desperate need for wide receiver. I'm surprised they didn't try to work their way up the board, but they let the board speak to them. There are still some really good options out there at the wide receiver position, but the way I'm thinking, height, weight, speed, demon. They're going to go with a guy that's big, strong, fast, and Josh Allen could just launch piss missiles to him 70 yards down the field. I'm going A.D. Mitchell from Texas. I was thinking about Worthy because of the speed, but no, I want the height, weight, speed guy that can dominate any type of corner you throw out there. You throw a corner that's too small out there, he's going to jump ball dunk on him. You put a corner that's not fast enough out there, A.D. Mitchell's going to run past him. He's a good combination receiver, and I think I like him more now that blasphemous report came out the other day talking about he's uncoachable and he's hard to deal with when his blood sugar is running low. And what that made me like, I like my wide receivers with a little diva to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may eventually have to trade him down the line, but you're going to get the most tread off of that tire while he's there. A.D. Mitchell, you are a Buffalo Bill.
No, let's be honest. You like your wide receivers with a little crazy in them. That's why you such an Antonio Brown fan. That's why you such an AB fan. But let's move on to the 29th pick, the Detroit Lions. I was looking to kind of get them some defensive back help. The Cam Sutton thought he was O.J. Simpson. Rest in peace, O.J. going on a police chase during the offseason. But I didn't necessarily love the option, the pick of the litter with a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry. We got a guy like Cam Hart right there. And I think that the pick 28 would be a reach for those guys. But this guy, pick 28, is hell of a value. I don't know how this guy is still on the board, and I think that the Detroit Lions go with a value play here and get what many pundits think is the best defensive tackle in the draft, and that's defensive tackle Byron Murphy II to pair with Aleem McNeil. I think that's a little short defensive tackle's name. And they could go out there pairing with Aiden Hutchinson as well and provide a fierce frontline unit for one of the best teams in the NFC.
I dig it, man. Damn, that's crazy. We let Byron Murphy fall all the way to 29. We're walling. But that's how the draft be.
I was about to say, who would have thought that Jalen Carter would have failed even 10 last year? Who would have thought that Jalen Carter, even with all the incidents and things of that nature, who would have thought he would have failed it? So that's how the draft is.
Hey, man, I need these college and pro football players to not be playing speed racer out here. But, yeah, it's crazy, man. Byron Murphy falls to 29, but you never know how it happens on draft night. Last year, we watched Christian Gonzalez fall his ass all the way down to 17, even past us who needed a cornerback. We don't have to talk about that right now. We don't have to do that. But let's talk about the team a little. Let's talk about a team a little bit north up the road. who would like to be a part of the DMV, but they are not quite. It is the Baltimore Ravens on the clock at pick 30. We want to protect Lamar Jackson some more. The Ravens have everything they need. They're ready to go. They just have to take that next step. Lamar Jackson just has to graduate to a level that he can out quarterback Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. They have everything they need, but let's protect them some more. Give me Jordan Morgan, versatile guy. They say the alligator arms probably makes him a guard rather than a tackle, but we're protecting the investment, man. We paid Lamar all that money. Baltimore never misses in the first round. No matter what they do, you know it's going to be a wise pick because Eric DeCosta has learned all his ways from Ozzie Newsome, who's one of the best we've ever seen do it. Jordan Morgan, you are a Baltimore Raven. We're down to our final two picks of the Rio and Stunna first round mock draft.
Oh man, to my last pick, sticking with the offensive tackle. I don't know who was the right tackle that filled in for Mitch McGlinchey this year with the San Francisco 49ers, but he damn near single-handedly lost them the Super Bowl with the way he was giving up pressures in that second half, right? So that just sticks out in my mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give them Amarius Mims so he can learn under Trent Williams, who's a little long in the tooth while still dominant. Trent Williams did have his fair share of lowlights. Especially in like the Super Bowl, because he's just simply getting older. Trent Williams was drafted in what, 2010? So you know he's able to sit under a guy like Trent Williams, and I think that Amarius Mims, while only playing 8 games at Georgia, if you look at his high school film and if you look at his measurables, and I know I've said this about a lot of these tackles tonight, but that's how good this class is. I do think that Amarius Mims does have the highest ceiling if he's able to get there. I think he does have like a Trent Williams type ceiling. So with my final pick in the Rio and Stunna's first round mock draft, I'm going to go ahead and give the San Francisco 49ers and Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy some help with Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from the University of Georgia.
I think Amarius Mims is the biggest enigma in this draft class. Like, you really don't know what you're gonna get, Forrest Gump, because the dude's played 7 games. He started 8 games in college. Like, we don't know exactly what he is, but that size profile, that athleticism, someone's gonna take a chance on it. I honestly think this is around the range where he should be drafted at the end of the first round. I don't think you take a guy in the top 15 that you're still not even sure what position he is because he's only played a handful of games in college. But I get it. And to close out the Rio and Stunna first round mock draft, the Super Bowl champion, the rich get richer. They can do whatever they want whenever they want at this point. But like we just mentioned about speed racer receivers, Rashee Rice is going to face a suspension of some sort. And he's the best receiver on that roster. Well, now Hollywood Brown and him. We're going to add a tooled up guy. We're going to add a guy that is a tailor-made fit for the Kansas City Chiefs offense, a detail-oriented route-running dog. I like to say he's like a white AB. You just mentioned Antonio Brown. You are looking at Caucasian Antonio Brown without the CTE. Ladd McConkey of the Jordan Bulldogs. My man, Ladd, let's get it. Let's get it. You are a Kansas City Chief. I love the fit of Ladd McConkey in that offense. I think he is so good in that offense, he becomes their number 1 receiver and absolutely lights up the league. He has God throwing him the ball at that point. I love that. What do you think about Ladd to Kansas City?
What did I say when you sent that pick? I said I was about to text you and say, please, Brian. Please, I know I'm gonna let you be your own man, but please give Kansas City Ladd because I think it just fits like a glove. Honestly, man, I was looking at even giving Ladd to the Los Angeles Rams at 19, but I think his skill set is a little redundant with Cooper Kupp and with a guy like Puka Nacua because he's a route running extraordinaire. And I think that you pair that with a guy like Patrick Mahomes who don't even need the route runners for real because he's going to find a way to get you a ball. So the fact that he does have a route runner who he knows is going to be where he expects him to be, the sky's the limit for Ladd.
That's easy work. I love that pick. So looking at our draft in totality, what is a pick you love based on what we put out there?
A pick I love that I made, I love that Troy Fautanu to the Miami Dolphins pick, man, because he seems like such You look at his movement skills, you know that's exactly what Mike McDaniel was looking for in his offensive line. I mean, can you imagine him pulling with Devon A-Chain out in the alley running the pitch? Like what are we doing? Can you imagine him blocking down on the screen pass with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill catching the ball at the line of scrimmage, and you so worried about him, you get his big ass coming and knock you down into the sideline? And I think that's a pick that's very realistic come Thursday. How about you?
Hell yeah. What up, Jern? Day one channel member, my guy. He's been here since the channel begun, and we had one or two people in the chat whenever we hop on. Appreciate you, my boy. I'm going to be biased here. It's very easy what pick I love out of this. It's Washington getting up to 16 and pairing Olu with Jaden Daniels. Like it's just too easy for me. I guess if I was to be non-biased, I'd say Roma Dunze. I don't know what he's gonna do once Rodgers leaves the Jets, but while Rodgers is upright, he's going to light it the hell up over there. And G5 Garrett Wilson back in his college number, G5 and Roma Dunze, that might get scary on that side, man.
Oh, yeah, the Jets might be talking about Super Bowl if they can keep A-Rod upright at that point.
But we're not just going to talk about the positives. To close out the show, what are the head-scratching picks that you made? What is a head-scratcher that you made? Something you might have to think twice about when you wake up the next morning.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a head-scratcher. I think I kind of threw people off with that Edgerrin Cooper move, though. And us having Byron Murphy last all the way till 29 was a little crazy. But like you said, we never know how the draft is going to play out. That's part of the excitement, and that's part of the entice about the draft. So as far as like head scratchers or under the radar moves that I didn't necessarily expect to make when we started our order or things of that nature, either Edgerrin Cooper going to Green Bay or Byron Murphy lasting that long at 29 to Detroit. How about you?
I think Jarrett Verse lasting to 26 is a little crazy, but you never know. But to be perfectly honest, I hate Bo Nix at 12. Like, I hate it. Like, I hate him, but I see it, though, because they're desperate. Like, they really don't have a choice, because if somebody else that's quarterback desperate, like say the Giants say we want to get a guy in the second round, they could hop at the end of the first round and get a guy like Bo Nix. So they kind of have, but I hate seeing Bo Nix that high. I don't think Bo Nix is a 12th pick of the draft worthy.
When you sent it in, I was totally shocked. But after sitting with it for a minute, I mean, he is kind of like a Sean Payton quarterback. He's not the tallest, high completion percentage, hella passes at the line of scrimmage. They got to get their version of Slant Boy to throw them passes at the line of scrimmage. But I mean, I'm not mad at the fit. We heard Peyton say that they were interested in JJ, so we know we're looking for a quarterback. And if they can't get any of the top guys, I'm not too mad at the fit, even though you did pass over Michael Penix Jr., even though I don't think he's too much of a Sean Payton quarterback.
Hell yeah, I think we did well. Shout out DC Dude. He said, great mock, grade A Colombian shit. Hey, I don't know. Hopefully, hey, give us some fingers crossed, because we ain't hit a handful in a draft yet. Hopefully, we hit a handful of these.
No, 2021, we hit some numbers. 2021.
Oh, yeah, 2020. Oh, 2021.
The first one we did. Now, ever since then, that shit been woo. Yeah. But 2021, I think that's why the people kept coming back, because they was like, oh, this the black male Caper and Tommy shit. Like, they know this. And we ain't been on shit since.
All right, so before we get out of here, what are we gonna put on it? Put a lunch, put a handle. What we gonna put? Something at the stadium, at the games? Let's make a friendly wager on who gets the most picks right.
So what we doing? Who gets the most, like, numbers, or what team they go to? Because with the trades and all that,
let's say like draft position.
All right, yeah. Let's do team. We can get a nice little lunch out. Or whatever you want to do, some on-call push-ups, let me know what you want to do,
We can bet a good meal on it. Like, I'm not talking about like McDonald's type shit. Let me bet a decent lunch on it. And let's put a lunch. So hold up. So to get this clear, because I think we said two different things. Are you saying teams with players, or the pick the players go? Which one are we doing?
Teams. Who goes to the right team?
Okay, who goes to the right team? That makes a lot of sense. Let's see who goes to the right team.
Washington can trade to like 22 and still select Olu. I would want to give you credit for that, right? You feel me? You get what I'm saying?
Exactly, because I predicted that it was going to happen, and what this draft was is what we think is going to happen rather than what's actually going to happen. Just to put this up on the screen before we get out of here, these are me and Jalen's picks. His picks are in purple, mine are in blue. Let me know what y'all think. We are now 2 days away from the NFL draft. Let folks know where to find you so we can get up out of here tonight, man.
For sure, man. As Rio mentioned at the beginning of the episode, please subscribe to my YouTube channel on the road to 2K. I'm trying to get there before training camp at Bleeding BNG, at Stunna Showtime. You can find me on YouTube at Bleeding BNG, right there, there, or at Stunna Showtime, STUNNA, SHOWTIME. Follow us on social media. Our Instagram is at Bleeding BNG, BLEEDING, BNG. Our Twitter handle is spelled a little bit different. Yeah, we still call it Twitter. We call it by its biological daddy. Our Twitter handle is at Bleeding BNG, BLEEDIN. BNG. Available on all podcast platforms. If you do check us out on there, like Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating, please leave a review. That's how we finesse these algorithms so that whenever you're looking for anything, Washington Commanders, we right under Rio Robinson. He number 1, we number 2. We right up under there.
Let's get it.
Preferably 5 stars, but yeah, I enjoyed doing this, and I can't wait for the draft party.
Hell yeah, we are 2 nights away, 2 sleeps away from the 2024 NFL draft. Y'all know what it is. Rio Robinson. Sub up the channel, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. We'll see y'all in a couple nights. Let's get it.